When Joan Scourfield's son James was killed by a single punch in 2011, her life was turned upside down.
However, rather than feel hatred towards his killer, Joan has ended up forming a remarkable bond, and she joined us now alongside Jacob to tell us more. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to have you both with us. Listen, before we get to the story of redemption, which is the most important thing we should talk about today, let's just, if you don't mind, and I know this must be difficult for you, but let's just go back to 2011 and just give us a little bit of context. So, Joan, firstly, tell us a little bit about your son, James. What did he do and what sort of a man was he?
James was a trainee paramedic just about to qualify. He was a very loving son. He always home for family events when he could get time off. Regular texts and phone calls from him. But he had his adrenaline side where he would go off skiing and high peaks, take his bike over to the Alps and cycle down the mountainside and any dangerous sport, really.
And Jacob, tell us a little bit about you and your upbringing and what led you to be part of a gang as you were in at the time.
I think it was just a breakdown in having any positive social connections with anyone in my community. I kind of didn't feel like I fitted in school. I didn't have any kind of confidence in being successful in the academic route. And unfortunately, within my local community, there's generation after generation of, older teenage lads who have dropped out of school and don't have much prospects for the future either. And I guess that's just how easy it is to get caught up in that kind of gang culture.
It gives you the affirmation, doesn't it, that, you're not getting elsewhere.
Right. So Jacob, let's take it back to that day in 2011. You were out that night celebrating a friend's 18th. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell us a bit about what happened.
So I was out with my friends celebrating their birthday. I got separated from my friends and ended up in a different bar. And for those people who know, who go out at weekends, there's often a lot of trouble towards the end of the night when everyone's had a bit too much to drink and all the bars are closing at the same time. And my group of friends often got into a lot of altercations at that time. Unfortunately for me,
You actually said it was sort of sometimes part of the night out. You know, you'd sort of talk about before going out, oh, I hope we get into a bit of a scrap tonight.
Yeah, and it was just that kind of adrenaline, I guess, and just carelessness about the consequences that throwing a single punch can have. You know, we just thought, everyone gets into fights and you dust yourself off and you have a laugh about it the next day, and then potentially you get into a fight again the next weekend, and it just becomes normalised. And it's a real issue that I hope together me and Joan can put a spotlight on.
Yeah.
After the punch and the very tragic death of James, you had no idea about this. You were on holiday and you came home to be questioned by the police and then arrested. What went through your mind when you found out that he'd passed?
I was just in complete shock and disbelief, to be honest. And I felt, I guess, a bit sorry for myself. I was like, how can this happen to me? What are the chances of this happening to me? And just quite a lot of self-pity, I guess. And I was just thinking, this isn't what I wanted for my life. I didn't really have many aspirations for my life because, I didn't have a CV. I didn't have anything to put on a CV. But I knew that, this wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. And I was just in a big hole, to be honest. And
how guilty did you feel? I mean, were you racked by that?
At the time, I don't think I could comprehend the impact
Yeah.
that had on Joan and the rest of the family. At that time, when I first got the news, I was just kind of trying to process.
It was more it was more about you at the time, I suppose. You were thinking, how's this happened to me, etc., etc. Well, eventually, Jacob, you pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was handed a 30-month sentence, but only served 13 months. Joan, that at the time must have been really hard for you.
Yes, I felt very bitter to the justice system, very angry with the justice system. I felt my son's life was worth more than 13 months. And also, what deterrent was it from others to go and fight if they're only going to get 13 months in prison?
So, Joan, as a mother, we were talking before, weren't we, Dermot? And as a mother, when I listened to this story and I read all about the story this morning, I have so much admiration for you, because how do you turn, like the fact that you said that, Jacob then only served 13 months. How do you go from, I can only imagine a child passing, and it really is the unthinkable. It really, really is. And you must go through so many stages of grief and different emotions and anger and upset. How do you take that anger and channel it into compassion for somebody else and wanting to help the killer of your son?
We've had a lot of help from victim support and obviously the restorative justice system, and we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for those people. But obviously a lot of anger was built up towards the sentencing, and then we went through restorative justice to see if Jacob would even ask our questions about his side of what happened on the night and what he was doing now in prison. All the time, the 13 months he was in prison, I tried to get information to see, was he doing any courses, was he allowed to do anything, but we weren't allowed any information ourselves. Right. So the only way forward was restorative justice, and thank goodness Jacob did agree to just answer the questions, and at the beginning that's all we wanted. Everything has led on from there.
Yeah. I think this is what strikes me is this is a remarkable story of rehabilitation and of second chances, and really, in many ways, Joan, this is for you to say, not me, Jacob, but it feels like Joan has given you your life back.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. She, with the courage that she was able to build to ask me these difficult questions and to confront me, she gave me the opportunity to be able to confront myself and for me to ask those deep, dark questions of myself that I wouldn't have been able to ask myself otherwise. And then I went on a journey of trying to understand exactly why I was this angry young boy, and start to do the work on, how can I change this and change this for other people as well, which is led on from our relationship.
It sounds to me like the rehabilitation started out of prison. Oh
yes, after prison. Prison done nothing for Jacob at all. He came out worse.
Yeah, I came out more angry, more bitter, because I would say that the people who are most likely to help someone turn their life around are those, those positive social relationships that they have within their community. And when you separate them from those people and isolate them we've all been in lockdown, haven't we? And we've all been suffering with our mental health, and we're in the comfort of our own homes.
Yeah.
So when you're isolated in a tiny little cell and you have no contact with anyone that gives you joy in life, it's very difficult to remain upbeat and to reflect on what you've done and the reasons you're in prison. So we want people to go to prison to take responsibility and to take accountability. But I just think that the environment itself makes it difficult for people to do that.
It's an incredible story.
It really is. It really is.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.
Thank you.
and I know there's a podcast on...
Yes, The Punch.
The Punch, which I heard last night. It's very powerful stuff.
Yes.
Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate your time.
Yes.
And we'd look at if people could continue the conversation with us, and because there is a lot more broader messages for us to have as a society, and if me and Joan can have come together and have these difficult conversations and find a way forward, then hopefully others around the country can have those difficult conversations with whoever it is.
Right. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much, both of you. And The Punch, the podcast, is out now on BBC Sounds.